Good evening, everyone. I'm Molly. I'm the Executive Director here at the RAL National Association. I'm here with Sandra Scott from Scott Marketing and Consulting Group, SMCG for short. We always say that. It's kind of like RALNA. You got to say it shorter. It's funny because I have this tendency to answer the phone and I'm like, do I say RAL National Association or do I say the Residential Assisted Living National Association? So it's a long name. It's got Sandra Scott at the end of the day. Scott Marketing is what I like to shorten it to. She's amazing. She's going to be talking to us about reviews, the good, the bad, the ugly. She's going to talk about personal experiences with her clients. Anytime throughout this presentation, if you have any sort of marketing question, it doesn't have to be review related, ask it. Sandra is here to answer your questions. If something triggers your mind, if you're here to ask a different question, people have those same questions. So some of the invites that I've sent out for this webinar is like, hey, Sandra's a marketing expert. She's a partner with us. Come and ask questions. Listen to her experiences with reviews specifically for this presentation, but she left some time at the end of this presentation, actually a little bit more than normal, so that we can answer questions, whether it's related to reviews, like building reviews online, building your online presence, dealing with old reviews. Maybe you bought a home and it already had reviews. How do you deal with those types of things? So Sandra's here to help. I'm here to help. If you guys have questions throughout the presentation, there is a questions tab on the right-hand side, and you're going to go into that tab, drop it down. If you have issues throughout the presentation, I can try and help you. There's like audio tabs and other things in case you lose sound that you can try and navigate through. But keep in mind, I am going to send you the recording tomorrow. So don't worry too much if you can't get through your issues technically. I know we all kind of deal with that on the computer. So no worries. I am trying to help you in any way I can. And Sandra will answer questions at the end. So Sandra, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I will let you take things away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Molly. Hello, RALNA members. I'm so happy to be here with you this evening. As Molly stated, normally when I have the honor of presenting and talking about a webinar, it is, okay, Molly, I just clicked show my screen, so I hope that that's okay. Something just popped up. Okay, awesome. So I usually try to share as much information as I can because I'm so grateful for the time that you afford me to share with you some information that can help you better your RAL home, support you in your efforts. I'm here as a support system for you, as an extension of the association's arm in any way that I can to be able to answer your questions, provide best guidance or best practices. So as Molly said, I'd love to be able to, at the end of the presentation, afford more time so I didn't information pack this webinar so that we can really dive a little bit deeper into your specific questions, because that's so important. If you're affording me this hour, I want to use it to the best of our ability and being very judicious with that time. So with that said, let's just talk about reviews. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I will share with you an instance that happened to me that actually threw me for a little bit of a loop, and some of the vendor partners and clients that I have, what happened to them and how they've handled it, because I think that we can have a lot of information, but sometimes great examples also help to guide us and paint a bit of a clearer picture as to how we can handle a situation. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to look at why reviews are important and how we can respond to reviews. And that's the crux of this training and why it's just really, really important to have them. So as an owner operator of a RAL home, and I'm reading my notes on the side, so forgive me, online reviews and testimonials provide the social credibility you need to build your brand, to grow traffic to your website, and increase calls. And receiving great reviews online is something we all want and can cultivate by providing great service. But what do we do when our online reviews are not favorable? And what if someone leaves a fake review or an untruthful testimonial. So tonight we're going to take a look at why reviews are important and how to respond in all of those situations. In 2018, Forbes did an article that said online reviews are the best thing that ever happened to small businesses, and it is true. I know sometimes as a business owner we can feel like it's, 6 in one, half a dozen in the other, because we feel like Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl. It's just fantastic when someone says something so good about us because we work so hard to care for people, to provide great service, to meet their needs, whether it's a service or product. And when they leave a great review, it makes us happy. And when they leave an unfavorable review, we're kind of thinking what happened, especially in your case as a REL homeowner, because excuse me, you have really great relationships with your family members and really great relationships with your residents. And so we would love for them to come to us before they leave a review if they are in any way disgruntled or if they've had a concern or a problem, but that's not always the case. And so if that happens, we're going to look at how we can address that. So according to this headline in 2018, it really did leave small businesses with a tremendous opportunity to grow their platform, to grow their business. And according to Forbes, 97% of consumers use the internet to find local businesses. And we've talked about this before in prior trainings about website and SEO. And 3 in 4 people who use their smartphones to search for local businesses end up visiting that same day. And of course, this was pre-COVID, but at least they will call within 1 to 2 business days. And for small businesses or your REL home, this means family members, prospective residents, they will research online before they visit your home. And when they visit your home, that signifies a true intent to purchase. And so that gives you an opportunity to really shine outside of your website, just on reviews. So the good about why reviews are important is that consumers really trust reviews. Nearly 9 out of 10 people, that's 89%, almost 90% of people read reviews before making a purchase. That's according to Trustpilot surveys last year. Leads help increase census. It helps you improve your SEO rankings so that you are come up on that search. It builds online credibility as well as loyalty. And the truth be told, 88% of people who have never visited your community, who have not even perused your website yet, who do not know your love, dedication, passion for serving seniors and their family members, are going to trust that online review before they ever trust you. And so that's why it's so critical and so vital that you support the use of online reviews and encourage people to leave online reviews for you, because it builds your social credibility, meaning it builds that trust factor where people see everyone else's experiences and how you've engaged them, how they've engaged you, and what capacity they've engaged you. And they're more inclined to say, wow, okay, I will give that a shot. And it helps prospective customers, i.e. your residents and your family members, learn more about a customer's experience, because not all customers engage us in the same way. We offer different services. We have different conversations. Our loved ones or their loved ones have different needs that we've met. So we really want them to be able to share it so that we have as much information as possible online to present prospective family members, prospective residents, to look at and examine. That's a reflection of us and our service and our dedication that we can also provide them and their loved one. So with that said, I will say that more people will, 3 out of 4 people will trust reviews online or read up to 4 reviews online before they ever even decide to call you or use you or even go to your site. So that's why it's so important to have reviews, because and quite a number of them, because if they're going to read on average 4 reviews, then you want to have some. And if you go to my site, really right now there's only 4 reviews on there. And that's because I haven't really sat down and asked all of my client partners, which is actually on my list. So I'm sharing with you what we're doing right now too. You know, share with my constituents, everyone who wants to learn more about SMCG, you know, what you value and what you found helpful in the services we've provided. Because if they're going to read 4, you want to have at least that on there. So review companies are places like Facebook, Google Reviews, Yelp, Trustpilot. You can get or garner reviews from any of these platforms. And sometimes it's great to be on all of them. Most people are on Google My Business and Facebook. Not everyone's on Yelp or Trustpilot, but they're all pretty much the same. And on the screen, I have one of our client partners, Pipestone Place. They have 14 Google reviews there, but they are also on Yelp and they're also on Facebook. And so you can have multiple platforms because each audience is a little bit different. And the reviews that people leave on Google, there are also going to be different people leaving reviews on Facebook. So use every platform available to you that you can leave a review so that people can, again, understand their experiences and their engagement with your organization. Although Google reviews is by far the most popular, Yelp is also an extremely popular site, and its platform is used often by people to rave about it. Local consumers rave about their local businesses on Yelp. It tends to be a platform where people will go to Yelp and leave highly favorable reviews, and it is considered one of the best options as well for leaving a review. So if your current route home does not use Yelp as a platform, you may want to consider that. Look and see what other outlets or platforms you use for your constituents, your consumers, to actually leave a review for you. I think the more you're able to use all of these, again, it helps in your search engine rankings because all of these have strong domain authorities. They're all incredibly credible websites, and because you're linked to them, like a caring.com, like a Place for Mom, those are also places people leave reviews. And if you have reviews on those sites, fantastic. If you've received leads or inquiries from those, and those prospective family members and residents have moved into your communities and their families have left reviews on those sites, that's fantastic. Make sure that it links to your website, make sure that it's on your website, and then also refer people to that if you would like them to leave reviews if that was the source of where your inquiry came from. So there's so many platforms out there that you can really shine and allow people to share their experiences with you on there for others to see. So a few tips for seeking reviews, and this is really important. It's really vital that you check each platform's terms and conditions and review their guidelines. And the reason why I say that is every platform has a different guideline for engaging them. And if you break their policies and procedures, you will not be rewarded. You will either be, banned from the site. You could, be in some way pushed down in the search rankings. There's a lot of things that can be taken, measures taken by that platform, because they just want you to use their service, their platform, to provide a really good message or a really good experience to your constituents without trying to cheat the system, for lack of a better word. And the reason why I say that is there are many loopholes on every platform that people try to get around. People try to cheat Google algorithms. That's why they have over 500 changes a year. On LinkedIn, there is and you can research this and see, there was a huge scam a couple years ago, and this is highly out there. People paid to be part of groups, and you would pay per review, and people did not have to know anything about your business. If they subscribed to this group, the moment you posted something, they would post and say, oh, that's great. And again, all of it was to cheat the algorithm so that your post would come up. So I always advocate follow the rules of the platform. You are all very honorable, trustworthy people. And so if you abide by the rules of engagement and use these free services, these really great platforms, you will do quite well, because the really great people that you serve and the really great caregivers who serve them will be honored by you following the rules of engagement for every single platform. And I just want to say the disclaimer that none of this is legal advice. So this is just From a consultancy's perspective, from my perspective personally as a business owner, what I'm encouraging you to do and what I'm encouraging you to think about, because it's really important to know whenever you're using a platform and be quite familiar with each platform's terms and conditions, because they're different. So Facebook's terms and conditions are going to be very different from Google, which is very different from Yelp. So please know what each of them are so that you can, again, abide by them. It's okay to ask customers, that is your residents and family members, for reviews. You can ask them for a review after your move-in process. You can ask them for a review after a special event. Ask a family member whose loved one has resided with you for a while to leave a review, because that shows long-term care and consistency in delivering quality of care. You can ask for reviews on your quality metrics, on your service, or even if there was an outstanding caregiver who shined, who really went above and beyond to help a resident, and that family member was so grateful, you can say or ask, can you share your experience about Sandra Scott and how she cared for your mom with a review online. Think outside of the box. Sometimes we think there's only one specific way that someone can leave a review for us, but I encourage you to think, what are some of the ways your caregivers, your community has demonstrated really great service, has really delivered? What conversations have you had with your family members and with your residents who can leave these reviews and say, I love living here. They really take great care of me. Everything that they promise is actually what they deliver. If there's a POA who had a really great experience with you because you handled everything seamlessly, let that person, because they are a consumer, leave that review. I will say that depending on the platform, like Google, the reviews from staff, caregivers, that's not allowed. It's considered, what Google says is material relationship, and it's forbidden by their guidelines. So make sure that they're actual consumers who are paying you or utilizing a service and not being paid by you. The other thing is you cannot pay for reviews. That is an absolute no-no. And that's a no-no across the board, no matter what platform you use. It's just, as I mentioned, what happened with that big unfortunate incident with LinkedIn, and they have written actual reviews or blogs about it, just to let you know, hey, this is what's going on. There's always going to be someone out there. There was an article 2 weeks ago about the Amazon reviews and how there are groups that are paying to pay people to review their product, and there's thousands of faulty or not truthful reviews about products online because Amazon is such a huge platform. And so that's how much people are willing to invest in it, because they know you and I trust it. If 89% are going to make a decision on whether to call or purchase based on a review, unfortunately, there are theirs that will cheat that, but we don't want to do that. We want to abide by all of those rules, and we want it to be authentic. We want it to be an experience that is really authentic to a customer that we have served and a family member that we have served, and we want them to share that. So I was just sharing some really good ways that you can think outside of the box, so that when someone is reading your review on Yelp, on Facebook, on Google My Business, they're seeing the multifaceted levels of service that you provide. They're seeing, oh, I thought it was just, senior living and assisted living, and they have this very finite view of it, but it's so much more than that. Thank you for helping my mom move in because she was initially scared or intimidated about moving from her home of 40 years into your community. Thank you for talking to my father with such respect and kindness. Thank you for that caregiver who made my father's 89th birthday spectacular. Why not? Your caregivers are amazing. And if you've had a conversation that really shows appreciation for what you've been able to do, your community's been able to do, say, would you mind leaving a review? I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Would you mind leaving a review? And I guarantee you, if someone's really happy and they have shared that with you, they're gonna say, of course, and they won't mind leaving it. I would then provide a link to your review site if it's a single property, and that's often a lot easier. So if you just have one RAL home, then you can just send them that GMB link where they could leave a review. But if you have a Yelp or Trustpilot link that you can send them, send it to them and make it easy on them. I always say, if we're asking for the review, make it easy on them to leave it. So just send them the link in which they can fill that out. But if you have multi-properties on Google, that link that you send them, just make sure it relates to that property, or they can just do a Google search. And oftentimes I say, just do a Google search on that particular property and you're going to see their write a review, and that's the easiest way. The thing about Google though is you have to have a Gmail account in order to leave a review. So if someone doesn't have a Gmail account, doesn't really want to sign up for a Gmail account, or it's too much, it's a bit of an overwhelming process, then we want to recognize where they're at and provide the easiest means for leaving that review. And that might be Facebook. And if they don't have a Gmail account and they don't have a Facebook account, then we can say, I'm happy to send you a link to Yelp. You know, could you leave a review there? So meet your customers where they're at. We're so grateful that they just want to leave a review. We want to provide them with the tool in order to do so. And then provide creative ways to show insight into your organization. So for example, an idea would be on Facebook, you can ask families to share their experience with a post and then leave a review as well. So let's take that example of the birthday party. And I kid you not, I have seen such great pictures from a lot of our client partners celebrating amazing birthdays, and they really make an incredible deal about it because it is an honor to age and to age well in your community. And so why not celebrate that? Facebook is where you get all the warm fuzzies about bringing your community to life for loved ones that are not there. And so if they're going to share a picture or you're going to share a post about that party, they can also share because they were there or comment because of their gratitude. And while they're in that platform, would you mind leaving a review? And so you could also say, you know, Sandra, I saw the comment that you left about your dad's 95th birthday party. It was such a great celebration for us. We're honored. Would you mind leaving a review because you were there and you know, you shared that experience with all of us, so that people can see how much residents matter to us and how they're also very important and we honor them. And so it's just, again, thinking outside of the box. Seeking reviews isn't just about the move-in process and then, you know, once that person has lived with you for a while, then you ask them for a review. It's all the time. You know, a lot of the platforms don't encourage you, they actually discourage you from seeking what's called like bulk reviews. You have a request that you just send out there to everyone and just ask everyone to post it. And that's not the habit that you want to get into. The habit that you want to get into is asking for reviews continually, whether it is from someone who's lived with you for a while, a family member that just moved in, even a family member that did not choose you but had such an amazing experience. Why not ask them to leave a review? Because although you did not were selected for whatever reason, it could be budget, it could be a need, an immediate need in which you did not have an opening and so they needed to move to a competitor, but you were so kind, you were so gracious, they couldn't believe the service offerings and how you really offer more and provide greater care because of your resident care ratio, resident to caregiver ratio than the big box. Why not say, you know, I understand that you didn't select us and your mom needed an immediate opening that we did not have, but I really appreciated meeting you and I really appreciated getting to know you, and I hope that we could be of service to someone you know in the future. Would you mind leaving a review as to your experience with us? You know, ask them, ask all the time. And so the greatest takeaway for seeking reviews is think outside of the box, think how it can really benefit your community to show, again, the multifaceted ways in which you help residents, help family members, celebrate really great milestones, and make it a habit to use as many platforms as you can to increase that search engine optimization and be able to provide them with links to it so that they can leave a review for you as quickly and as easily as possible. So let's get into once they've sent you a review and it's online. So if you have a review like Google, you'll get an update that says, oh, Sandra Scott left you a review. And so you really want to be able to respond. So what do you do? What do you say when someone leaves you a review? As a rule, a general rule, you always respond to reviews. Now, I know it's really tough when they just leave a star rating, right? And that may mean that they just didn't know what to say, or they were in a rush, or they really appreciate you, but they'd rather not, speak personally about, situation that they feel is very close to their heart, but they really want to support you and let everybody know you're fantastic. So they give you a 5-star. Simply going in there and thanking them for leaving a review is wonderful because they still took their time to do it. So if the review is favorable, comment. Believe it or not, owner responses are read. And as I mentioned at the beginning of our webinar, they will read at least 4 reviews before they get off that platform and go to your website, or before they continue on reading more. But your engagement is seen. How you respond, how do you interact with that review is noted by the people who are considering you. Always thank your customer for the review and respond to their comment. And make sure, and I think I go into this a little bit, it's really important that your comment not be a static one. So what I mean by that is, dear Sandra, or Sandra, thank you so much for leaving that review. We appreciate it and look forward to serving you in the future. And then every single person after that, dear James, thank you so much for leaving that review. We really appreciate it and look forward to serving you in the future. People are going to see that. They're going to say, oh, it's the same comment every single time. And that's not authentic. We want to show a real relationship. We want to, in order to build that social credibility, we want them to be able to see that we know them and we have engaged them in providing this service and this level of care. So make sure that all of your reviews are authentic and they're different. They're not static. They're not rote. They don't have to be War and Peace, but just simply addressing it differently every time is really important. If it's unfavorable, I want to change our perception a little bit and help you see that you can turn a negative review into another opportunity to work with that customer. In many instances, you may not have known when something was or is wrong, but it's important to acknowledge it and demonstrate your willingness to fix it or make amends for the customer's concerns. Respond and view it as an opportunity to show your hospitality and to allow your customer service to shine. No business is perfect. None of us are, and we all have our days. And there's miscommunication, there's misunderstanding. There are perceptions that are very different from what you are supposed to do or deliver. And so mistakes are made, leading to a bad experience. So we want to acknowledge the experience, be honest in how we address it. And I'd like to think that if we're honest in demonstrating our customer service and our willingness to fix any concerns our customers have, we would be given another chance. If your customers will afford you that opportunity, we want to make it right, make it right. If they leave an unfavorable review because they've had a bad day, are upset, and did not bring it to your attention, or let's say they gave you 2 out of 5 stars, acknowledge it. Just, you want to acknowledge it. You don't think it's going to go away, and don't try to bury it by, again, doing a bulk review. This is common thought process among many businesses. Let me just get 15 more reviews and I can bury it. That's not a good business practice either. We want to address it, and we want people to see that real world engagement, because people are looking at how we handle that. How do you handle mistakes? How do you handle real experiences? How do you handle conflict? And that doesn't mean airing everything online, but it does mean acknowledging that person's experience, addressing it, offering an opportunity to make it right, if there is an opportunity to make it right. And because your brand and your RAL home is responsive to their feedback, studies have shown that 70% of customers will either buy with you again, that means they will give you a second chance, or they will actually do business with you because they respect you for the authentic way in which you handled that. And again, because people are at a general heart forgiving, and they see the dignity and the respect and the professionalism by which you handled that that critique, that feedback, and they're going to, again, if 7 out of 10 will give you a second chance, that leads to more loyalty, then why not take that opportunity? So handle those reviews, again, in a very dignified way. Thank people for leaving that review if it's favorable, and if it's unfavorable, again, address it and try and make it right. If the review is fake, this is really important. Google will not always remove a fake review. No platform can guarantee that they will ever remove a fake review, because there are millions of people all over the world leaving reviews. There are instances in which reviews are left by mistake. So for example, a client partner of ours had someone who confused his brand name with another community and left a review that was very disparaging. And so instead of flagging it as inappropriate and taking measures with Google to remove it, my client partner simply wrote in the comments, you know, thank you for expressing your concern. We are actually not the establishment that you had this experience with, although we are sorry for your experience and acknowledge this happened to you. It was not us that provided this. Would you kindly remove this review? That person did. It's really interesting. I think people, again, they leave a review because it's authentic to their experience. They do not wish, unless it is malicious intent, which I'll share a personal experience of mine. They're not going to do that. If it was an authentic experience and an actual review, they are going to leave that review and you can respond. So in this case of my client partner, they did remove it, and so he didn't have to go the way of Google to have that whole experience removed. That individual removed it. In the case of a vendor partner of mine, again, same instance where same name and someone left a review, and they asked them, could you remove the review because it's not our location, actually, it's this other location and it's part of a chain. And the person said, absolutely not. I'm not removing the review, and said it's going to stay because although you're a different location, you're part of a brand. And this was my experience with your brand. And so it was unfortunate, but that was the person's perception. And so, you know, we had to address it, or she addressed it in a way that, again, was very professional. So because it was an honest exchange of a circumstance online, as a consumer, if I were to go to that brand site and read their review, I would see that, okay, it wasn't this location, it was another location. And let's be honest, not every Pizza Hut or every Nike shoes or every, you know, local grocery store, even though they're part of the brand, it doesn't represent every single one. And so I would make a decision for myself that I would still do business with them because it was just an honest mistake. It was unfortunate that that person had that experience at that other location, but at this one, look at all of their other reviews. They're really great people, really great service. And so I'm going to give them an opportunity to, you know, to do business with me. And so those are two examples. In the case of a fake review, the fake review can be left by a competitor. That happens more often than you would think, or someone who is not a consumer at all. And in the case of Google, this is a violation of Google's review policy. You cannot leave a review when you're not a customer, or leave a fake review if you're a competitor just to hurt your competition or to drive them down in the rankings. Google will handle that accordingly. And those guidelines that I was talking about earlier that we have to honor, respect, and operate in are set up that way to protect us as well. So we need to be aware of them so we also know what our rights are on that platform. So if someone has left a fake review, it's really important to respond to the review as well. There are particular ways in which you can respond to that review. And I will, you know, discuss how I did it for me. And if you have any questions at the end, we can also talk about that, or you can email me after if you've experienced a fake review that's still on there and how do you handle it. But normally you respond to the review, you alert customers to the false review. So for example, how I handled it, let me backtrack. I'll share with you what happened. So last December, I had written a blog and posted it to my website. And unfortunately, whoever was perusing my website decided that they weren't going to read the blog, they were just going to comment on it. And so instead of reading the blog, they left a very inappropriate comment, not just on my Google review, they left it on my Facebook several times, several different posts that had nothing to do with that blog. They left it on my LinkedIn profile personally and my business page. This went on for over a week. Not only did they try every way that, I'm on social in order to leave a review that has nothing to do with different posts or different blogs or what have you, it was almost a stalking situation. And so I literally had to use every platform's rules and guidelines to show that person's ill intent. So what I had to do was proper research. Before I even responded to any of this, I didn't know where any of it was coming from. I figured out on our end with our CRM, who is this individual? Have we ever worked with? The name is not familiar to me. I asked my colleagues, is this name familiar to you? I reached out to our client partners. I apologize. Is this person with your organization? I've never met them before. And so after doing due diligence, realizing that it is a fake review, I knew it from the off, but again, I had to make sure because the wording was so vile and so inappropriate. Then I literally took snapshots of every single post. And then for every single platform, I went through their guidelines to report it as spam, to report it as abuse, to report it if every category they could possibly give it to me. Now, this person had such ill intent that even on LinkedIn, you can create profiles that are not genuine, that are fake, like you can on Facebook. They actually tried to connect with me on LinkedIn, and that way they would gain connection to my connections. And so it was just very duplicitous in every way. So LinkedIn responded immediately, which is really gratifying to know that, again, when you operate within the confines of their rules, their platforms, they want people to connect on a B2B level. They want people to be able to engage one another. They do not tolerate harassment. They do not tolerate fake reviews and all of those things. So use that platform's regulation so that you can get it taken down. And it was taken down immediately with LinkedIn. With Facebook, same thing. I followed Facebook's policies, reported it, and also removed it from my page, and also blocked that person. So you have many different ways, and block that person and any combination of that name from ever leaving a review on my site again. And then on the Google My Business side, that was the harder part. And this is where I give you tips here. And this is because it's the platform in which when you type in anything on your search engine, you're going to populate and you're going to see that Google My Business review. So you want to follow Google's process for how to resolve a fake review. There are steps for flagging it and there are steps for reporting it. Now, Google changes this often. So I didn't want to say you can call, you can chat, that used to be the way you can resolve it. Google gave you means of doing so. During COVID, they shut the opportunity to leave Google reviews down for months because there were so many people who were leaving reviews, and it was it was the disadvantage to the business owner because they weren't able to deliver their normal customer service because we're in a pandemic situation. So Google found that it was best to just suspend reviews. But then when reviews were opened up, the floodgates opened up, and so they can't get to everyone via a chat or via other means. So they had to streamline. How do you handle this? And so unfortunately for me, the normal ways that they had it in the past, where I could get a hold of a representative, talk to someone, be able to resolve my concern, was not available. So what was available to me, because again, I did my research, I documented everything, I then turned to the Google My Business community for help. And if you just Google My Business community, you're actually going to have a link, and it's, oh my gosh, it's chock filled with information that is so very helpful to you. Every instance that you can think of, someone has gone through it, and Google, in their infinite wisdom, has found ways in which to guide you through it without ever talking to someone. But if you flagged it, reported it, and Google does not take it down, the community is a really great avenue for you to use so that you can get your issue resolved. The one thing you have to be aware of is that once you write your case, you have to know it's public and you have to agree to the terms and conditions of that. For me, I was willing to do that because, again, it was my business reputation. And so you create a case online in the Google My Business community platform, and you put any supporting documentation in there. You will have to create a Google Doc so it links to that. And then you ask a top contributor and hope that that top contributor can help you resolve your issue. In my instance, that top contributor to Google actually helped me to remove it because Google did not find that this vile comment, these fictitious remarks, actually violated their policies. And I could not believe that happened because I thought it was very obvious. And so in the comment section in Google My Business Review, I actually said, dear valued customers, or to our valued customers, this review is fake and violates Google's terms and policies. Google is currently reviewing the matter and it is being investigated. And that way, anyone who went to Google My Business and saw this would see, oh, okay, this is fake and they're handling it. And so again, I use that as backup. So Google saw my response there. They saw my backup material posted on the community, and that top advisor on the community platform actually had my review taken down within the next day. It was so fast. After days of trying to navigate my way through this unfortunate situation of just ugliness, it was taken down. And so I learned a valuable lesson that I wanted to pass on to you. So with that said, I want to take any questions that you have directly about any reviews that are out there for you, any personal experiences that you wish to share. Again, just from a consultancy standpoint, but I'm a business owner as well. And how I've dealt with reviews I've shared with you, and in any way I can help you, please let me know. So Molly, I've tried to stay true. So I've left 15 minutes for Q&A.
No, you did wonderful. Look at you go here. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And I feel bad for anyone. You know,
Yeah.
I always say this. I had a couple of businesses. I was fortunate enough to never have a negative review, but I have worked for companies where they had, you know, a disgruntled person that made a negative review or something that wasn't true. And so it can be difficult to navigate those situations. And you obviously have these beautiful responses for people. Someone had asked, and I think she solved her own question, but somebody else may have this question. The policies that Google has, you can access those through Google, correct? If they wanted to go see these policies.
Absolutely. So when I was encouraging you right here, let's go back to that. So I'll highlight it here. The Google My Business, oopsies, right at the bottom here, the Google My Business community. So just go into Google, open a Google browser, type Google My Business community. And when you scroll down, you'll see different links for different topics. And at one of those, I think at the very bottom, is Google's policies and guidelines. Just click on that and it will tell you everything. It will send you to another landing page that will give you what their policies are. So absolutely, they put it out there for you to see. Facebook is the same. If you go into Facebook and they have a support at the very top right of your platform, and you can go into the support and you can lodge a ticket, and they will actually also show you their policies, and it will say, is it this? Is someone misrepresenting you? Are they claiming your identity? They give you so many options that you can select from. And so when you flag it with Facebook, and again, they're not always going to take it down. I have another experience with Facebook where I'm actually trying to, and I'll share that with you. Someone in another continent is claiming to work for my company. And I flagged it and I reported it to Facebook. Facebook has found no violation problems with that. And so as soon as my trademark goes through and I get that number, then Facebook has said that they would take it down. So sometimes it's mind-boggling that, it's obviously fake, or something is amiss, but we have to follow their processes, and they have those for a reason. So I have no doubt that Facebook will take that post down and make sure that that account is handled accordingly. But again, I just have to bring forward the proof once more. But for all of the platforms you use, whether it's Google My Business, Facebook, they will all have their guidelines and their policies there.
And so with Facebook, do you think that that first response was maybe just an automated, that it goes through their system and they have some kind of automated way to respond to it? And so then if you rebut it again, then they'll actually go through the process of a real human looking at it? Or why do you think that they initially said it didn't violate anything?
Unfortunately, they used to have a way. That's a great question, Molly. They used to have a way where you could actually prove how it violated, but that option is not presently there. And so even though it tells you, comment specifically about how this violates our privacy or policies and terms and conditions, it doesn't give you that option. And so you have to wait till they initially review it and then respond. So I flagged it literally, if you go into my history, like 8 different times, but because they've removed that option, and again, it can be pandemic specific. I'm not quite sure why, just as Google had to change it. LinkedIn also changed theirs. You used to be able, or Twitter rather, if you had something happen on Twitter, it was wonderful. You would have the @Twitter handle, customer service, you would send a tweet, and they would fix it. They had to take that away. Their customer service tweet was not available at the time, or at this time when I was looking into Twitter, because it was also there. They didn't have that. So I am assuming that we're living in a very different time with the pandemic that has affected a lot of rules of our operation and engagement. And so despite my flagging it and following their policies literally 8 times, I had to then find another avenue. And for me, that avenue was the whole false identity, but via the business route, the trademark route, the ways in which I can show a legitimate business and how this person is not a staff member of our organization. But you're going to have to, unfortunately, because it's used by millions and millions and millions of people, and they only have so many customer service representatives, you're going to have to continue to follow up. My one encouragement would be to be patient, because I think that they are all trying to do the very best they can. But to your point, initially it is automated. With Google, I tried a very diplomatic response that says, thank you for your feedback, knowing it was completely fake, and I did my research. Thank you for your feedback. Although we do value it, this is not, how we do business. Please contact us. And Google said, nope, it's a legitimate review. And so I learned, it is not a legitimate review. And so I wrote, this review, dear valued customers, this review is fake. And I have taken these steps. And so you've got to continue to work through it, be very patient as it's addressed, but figure out where that person has violated those policies and address it. If a policy has been violated, if it's an actual truthful review, even though you may be at an impasse and that is not how it happened, or that is not the understanding, I would still address it. Google will not remove it, but you can still have your voice be heard. And again, because people read the owner operators feedback on Google My Business, people will get your side of the story as well. So it's more of a rounded understanding of the encounter or the exchange, and hopefully that person will give you another opportunity.
Perfect. We've got a couple of questions that came in too in the meantime. So the first one says, you refer to a Google My Business link. What is this? He says he's seen other businesses that he deals with send him a text with a direct link to Google reviews, making it super easy to give a review. Is there a trick to this as long as he has someone's cell phone number, or how do they go about doing that?
It's actually, there's not a trick to it. You can actually just get in the URL, just copy that link, and you can send it to them. Sometimes it will be a long one, but you can embed the link in your email and say, we'd love for you to send us a review. You can leave it here and just write HERE and connect that hyperlink that will go to your URL. So if you want to email me, whoever left that question, I can actually send you instructions on how you can do it. It's really, really easy, and to your point, very, very helpful. So if it's going to help your family members and your residents leave it, I would definitely encourage you to do that. But that's how you do it. It's just copying that link, that URL, and sending it to them. But you don't want to send them, sometimes those URLs are like 2 sentences long. So just embedding that link, if you know how to do that in an email, you embed that link and just write, please, leave your review here and hyperlink that here. And they just click on it and it will guide them through. They just need to follow the process of leaving the review.
And Dave, I just sent you Sandra's email in a private chat. So Sandra, was your information at the end of this?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes.
So we'll get there too. So you guys, anybody else who has questions, here's Sandra's information on how to get a hold of her. Right on her website, she has the ability to schedule a consultation with her. So you can schedule right there through her website, makes it super, super easy. We do have one more question. And it says, as I understand, Yelp charges to place ads. It's just the basic name and phone number they give for free. Has this changed in the last 2 years?
So Yelp ads are very different from reviews. So there isn't a fee that I know of for most platforms. For example, Trustpilot, Facebook, all of these platforms allow you to leave a review and to build that for free. Ads, however, are very different. So yes, if you're trying to place an ad, whether on Yelp, Google, Facebook, all of that will come at a cost. And it depends upon that platform's pricing as to how much that would charge. LinkedIn, for example, charges keyword by bidding system, and it can be very expensive. Google My Business, Google ad campaigns, AdWord campaigns, it's usually, they look at your minimum investment of $1,000 a month for it to actually pay off, because it's highly competitive, pricey keywords. I don't know Yelp's, forgive me, I don't know Yelp's going price. And Facebook, with the pandemic, their rates decreased over 20%. It was like incredibly affordable for people to leave reviews, more so than it ever had been. But every review platform, when you place an ad, is going to charge you for that ad.
And going back to that, I know when I never actually wanted Yelp. I think of Yelp as like, when you're disgruntled, that's where you go, is Yelp, right? So, and also you have to remember, Yelp, you can create a fake profile, I feel like, very easily with Yelp and leave a review that's kind of anonymous. And that may be my just personal opinion on it, but it's also more difficult to leave a review on Yelp. So if you're talking about having your business on Yelp so that people can review it, I think that's actually a more difficult platform to use. Don't you agree, Sandra?
Yes, it's actually one in which people will go to quite often to leave a review. But it is one that a lot of businesses may or may not enter into, but because outside of Google, it is used by millions of people. And to your point, your experience, Molly, it's where people want to complain or leave an unfavorable review. It's also a place where people are like, I've got to leave this great review. It's like TripAdvisor. People just want to either kind of leave a review if you really love something or you really don't love something. That's why seeking reviews all the time, continually asking people, is so important, because you're going to be able to share the great service you provide and customer service experiences all of the time. So it's never 6 in one, half a dozen in the other, because when you look at reviews, you'll see that they're either always great or sometimes always bad. And so there's a red flag for both, right? Because people are going to say, hey, do you never do anything that it's not, upsetting to someone? Or, you're only asking people that are going to leave you rave reviews. Yeah, we want rave reviews. We want people to be raving fans of our row home. But yes, it's not a platform. Yelp is not a platform that, business owners usually will navigate toward the first. It's usually Google My Business because of Google's share. They have over 96% of search engine share, but Yelp is still used by millions of people, and it still has domain authority, and you'll still rank. And if people leave favorable reviews on that platform, it will benefit you. But to your point, Molly, and I just want to say this, I think that for your row home, it's really important that you pick the platform that you're most comfortable with and that you can respond to and you can navigate and you will be able to address and comment on. So you don't want to be, and you can't be everything to everyone. So if you know you can manage two, that being Facebook and Google My Business, then use those two, because if you're going to consistently respond to them and you know that you're going to get those alerts because you're in Facebook all the time, or you'll get the Google alerts, then my encouragement is to do that, because it's better to be consistent and show your appreciation and comment back than to leave reviews out there for a while in which, you know, people have responded and taken their time. So it's just good manners to respond, but you may not be familiar with that platform and how to use it. So definitely do your research, definitely be able to make the best decision for you based on the time that you do have and your familiarity with that platform.
And that was exactly it, Sandra. You hit it right on the head there, is that I could use Facebook, I could use Google very easily because I have a Gmail account, right? But Yelp was just difficult for some reason to navigate. But people, it does seem like people like to use it. It just never fit my usability or my user friendliness, I guess you could say. I did never like it. So it's up to you guys who you use. Yelp is obviously somewhere people go. It's probably just my opinion of things, but Google is always great. Facebook is always great. And I think that Sandra did a wonderful job describing the different availabilities that you guys have when it comes to review platforms. And there's probably many more that we didn't mention today.
Yes, and like I mentioned, even caring.com and A Place for Mom, those are review platforms. To your point, Molly, I just, you know, pick the four that are more generic, that are available to everyone versus senior living specific. Caring.com and A Place for Mom are very senior living specific. But if that is where the review or the inquiry came from and you ended up having the honor of moving that resident in, ask them to leave a review there. To Molly's point, you want them to be able to leave a review that will be reflective of their experience with you and promote your business. So whatever review site you can utilize in which an inquiry or person came to you from, point them in that direction. Again, if you're going to respond, if you're going to be able to respond and use it.
All right, so it looks like we don't have any other questions tonight, but if you guys came in late, I know we had quite a few people come in a little bit later. I will send the recording tomorrow, so if you missed a little bit in the beginning, don't worry, you'll get it tomorrow. And Sandra, it's always a pleasure, so thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.